Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here with another Master Duel video for you guys. So today we're going to be taking a look at some decks that we are using for the Synchro / Xyz Festival, the latest event here on Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. With this event, I've kind of been taking my time a little bit more than I have with others in the past. I kind of gave it like the first day just kind of see what decks people were thinking of, because it's funny, like I had it in my head like, oh, Synchro / Xyz, so let's use a deck that has both, right? That just kind of was my default option in my head, but of course then it's like, oh, you could just use a deck that is all Synchro or all Xyz. In that regard, this does feel a little bit, admittedly, like kind of like a rehash of just older festivals. I was kind of worried that this might happen, that we might just see like a trend of just like, oh, let's combine like two summoning methods, you know, together. I was honestly pretty hyped for a Link Festival too. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I was looking for another excuse to play Tri-Brigade, although don't worry, we will definitely be seeing Tri-Brigade on the channel again in the very near future. But yeah, in any case, I was kind of looking forward to a Link Festival, but I guess Synchro / Xyz is still fine, you know. I do tend to prefer the ones with the more special rule sets, like, you know, the normal rare event was a hit, I thought. The Duelist Cup, I liked it. I did see some, like, people who were less than excited for it, but yeah, you know, at the same time, like, I understand that as well. So with this event, though, there's been a few different decks that I've been using. I've been just kind of cycling through just to kind of keep games fresh for me. With these type of like deck limit, like restriction events, I tend to like to use a bunch of different decks. But this time around, instead of making like a bunch of separate different videos for them, I decided to kind of just cover all the different decks in one video like this. So these are going to be my 3 picks for decks to use in the Synchro / Xyz Festival. These are the 3 that I've been liking, and we're going to see example games from all 3 of these decks. So the first one we're going to take a look at, as you can see here, is Zoodiac. This is honestly probably my personal favorite. Honestly, any excuse to play pure Zoodiac. I think this deck is really, really fun. It's very, very powerful. And the cool thing is you don't even necessarily need to run it at full power. I think I saw this post on the subreddit, right, where someone was running like Zoodiacs, but they didn't want to craft like Trident or even like, you know, the Thoroughblades or Tenkis, so they were just using like all the normal and rare Zoodiac stuff, and then like, you know, going second cards, disruption, and hand traps, along with all the other stuff in Zeus, and like that is still more than viable. Like that is actually still a good deck for this event. Pure Zoodiacs tend to be good in particularly these events where the deck restrictions are more limited, because they can do so much under so many different restrictions, right? Like the deck is pretty much all Xyz monsters. The extra deck rather is all Xyz monsters anyway, so that restriction pretty much means kind of like nothing. And it ends up being, in these kind of events, like generally a very powerful going second option. So if you're particularly looking for a deck where it doesn't matter whether you win or lose the coin flip, this is definitely the choice for you. I think pure Zoodiac here. Just to break the list down real quick, we're running 2 Effect Veiler, 3 Max C, 2 Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, 3 Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, 1 Zoodiac Bunny Blast, 3 Zoodiac Whiptail, 3 Zoodiac Thoroughblade, 3 Zoodiac Ram Ram, 1 Zoodiac Cataroost, 1 Gamma Seal the Sea Turtle Kaiju, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, 3 Pot of Desires, 2 Lightning Storm, 2 Fire Formation Tenki, 2 Call by the Grave, 1 Cross-Out Designator, 3 Forbidden Droplet, and then 3 Infinite Permanents. Extra deck is going to be number F0 Utopic Future, number F0 Utopic Draco Future, 3 Zoodiac Tiger Mortar, 1 Zoodiac Trident, 2 Zoodiac Borbo, 2 Zoodiac Hammer Kong, 2 Zoodiac Shakanine, 3 Zoodiac Shakanine, jeez, I can't count today, 1 Drill Driver Vespinato, and then finally, of course, Divine Arsenal of Zeus. Zeus, Sky Thunder. So you are definitely going to want to have Zeus if you're going to be playing this deck, right? Like this is the ultra you cannot skip out on, but pretty much most of the other ones you can. Like you don't necessarily need the F0. It's nice to have as an option, but it's not necessary. Obviously the Trident is very, 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 very good, but I don't know, I would call it necessary, but you can also get away without using it apparently, so there is that as well. And as far as like, you know, the particular like disruption tools that we're using, this can definitely be like varied depending on what you have and how many copies of it you have, right? Like if you have Ghost Bells but not Ghost Ogres, you could just play those instead. If you have like a second Nibiru but not like a second Lightning Storm, you could just play that instead. If you didn't have Veilers but had like Forbidden Chalices even, you could play those instead. Like this deck is another popular choice, I think, because it's so flexible. So if you're looking for a solid and flexible choice, then this is definitely what I would recommend for you. Now, as far as the next deck we're going to take a look at here is, as you can see, going to be Sword Soul. And of course, I did not bother spelling Synchro right up here. I actually spelled that way wrong. Jeez. All right. Yeah, so Sword Soul is another deck that I think is very, not even I just think, is in fact just very popular, you know, here in the Synchro / Xyz event. Honestly, I think this is probably the most used. I forgot the N. in Synchro. Yeah, I think this is most used because of tools like Baxia here. I think this is like the main reason to kind of run, not necessarily like the main reason, but one of the main reasons to run Sword Soul. Of course, not just because of like the strong ending board rather of Chi Shao plus Baron, but Baxia in general can end up spitting away a lot of stuff that might otherwise be a bit difficult to remove in this format. I think that this card is just overall like a really good tool. It also, of course, lets us bridge into Chao Feng. I've been like meaning to like talk about this for a while. Like I think, you know, everyone's like, oh, Chi Shao Baron, but I feel like Baxia really is the backbone of Sword Soul. I think this card is like, I'm not saying it like needs to get hit or anything. That's not the claim I'm making. I just think like I just wanted to get a Baxia appreciation moment, of course, because it also lets us go into Chao Feng. Chao Feng being particularly strong in this event, I think. Because of how prevalent Sword Soul is. Not only Sword Soul, but Numeron. Numeron is another deck that we won't be covering because it's Numeron. You all know Numeron, right? Numeron is a deck that is also very popular in this event. I haven't really run into it too much myself, but is definitely being used pretty heavily in order to get, you know, easy wins. And I don't fault people for using Numeron for that reason. In fact, if you want easy wins and kind of like pure Zoodiac, you know, want a deck that wants to go second, so you don't care if you lose the coin flip, like, yeah, whatever, go for it. But anyway, Chao Feng being useful again, not only against Sword Soul, is being able to stop both the Baxia, who I think again is one of the real MVPs of Sword Soul, and Chi Shao, but also then the Numeron gates are all light, so they won't be able to use those either, and also stops Nibiru, and just a bunch of other things too. So, yeah, the extra deck is kind of tricked out with a whole bunch of synchro options that we don't normally see, like the Cypher Lord Zeta, the Shooting Riser Dragon. You usually don't see this many level 8s like the Omega and like the Adamantiator Arisen Dragite. You can also make the Virtual World Shen using the level adjusting effect of Emergence. I didn't really do that much in the event, or at all in the event, but it is an option there with the, you know, when you're going synchros only. I mean, of course you could run Xyz, but you don't really have the, you know, capacity to do that. So going synchro only with Sword Soul gives you a lot of free space here in the extra deck to just add a bunch of, you know, extra utility options. The main deck itself is like fairly similar to what you would normally running in Sword Soul. We're just playing stuff like Sacred Summit because, you know, the Vishuddha is limited to 1 here, so and then also in this particular format, because we don't really have monks, Shathana I don't think is quite as good as a level 4, so I opted for the Mapura instead. You could use Shathana, it doesn't really matter which of the level 4s you use, but I think again, given that we're not using monks and we're not really having normal monsters on the field battling, that the Shathana doesn't really do a whole lot, so I think the Mapura here ends up being slightly better, which is why we're playing that instead of Shathana. So yeah, so I think that's pretty much all I have to say. It's pretty much, you know, Sword Soul is Sword Soul, right? It plays the same as we've seen on ladder many a time. So once again, let's break down the list and then go on to the next build here. And then since I don't think I actually specifically mentioned, but after we look at all 3 decks, we'll then look at games with all 3 decks as well. So we are playing 3 Tinny Spirit at Hara, 3 Max C, 3 Ash Blossom Enjoy Spring, 1 Tinny Spirit Mapura, 3 Sword Soul of Moye, 2 Sword Soul of Taya, 3 Incredible Ecclesia, the Virtuous, 2 Sword Soul Strategist, or sorry, 3 Sword Soul Strategist Long Yuan, 1 Tinny Spirit Vishuddha, 3 Tinny Spirit Ashina, 2 Vessel for the Dragon Cycle, 3 Sword Soul Emergence, 1 Sword Soul Sacred Summit, 2 Call by the Grave, 1 Crosshat Designator, 2 Heavenly Dragon Circle, 3 Infinite Permanence, and then 1 Sword Soul Blackout. Extra deck is going to contain 1 Yazi, Evil of the Yangzing, 1 Ciphering Lord Zeta, 1 Shooting Riser Dragon, 2 Baxia, Brightness of the Yangzing, 1 Ciphering Lord Omega, 1 Draco Berserker of the Tinny, 1 Adamantiator Arisen Dragite, 2 Sword Soul Grandmaster Chi Shao, 1 Chao Feng Phantom of the Yangzing, 1 Virtual World QB Shenshin, 1 Baron de Fleur, 1 Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign Shengying, and then 1 Sword Soul Sinister Sovereign. Oh shoot, I already forgot. Is it Qixing Longyan? I think Qixing Longyan. I think is how you. I'm so sorry if I butchered that, which I think I almost assuredly did. So yeah, that pretty much covers the Sword Soul deck there. So then, whoops, yeah, we'll go ahead and save that name there. So yeah, the last deck that we're going to take a look at here is, here it is, it's this one actually. That's going to be Virtual World. So if you are looking for a deck that's using both Synchros and Xyz, then you're going to want to probably go to a Virtual World here. This deck is not really too popular anymore since the banning of our favorite VFD, that of course being the true king of all calamities, but it's still definitely more than viable. I mean, it's still got, you know, a very solid engine behind it that is capable of spitting out, you know, very good boards even without the use of VFD there. As far as the main and even the extra deck, honestly itself, they're pretty much mostly how, you know, Virtual World used to be. I opted not to play the Adventure engine because the Griffin Rider is banned. The Adventure engine would admittedly still allow you to go into level 10 synchros using like a level 6 tuner and level 4 adventure tokens, so there is that reason to use it, and if had I considered that when making this build, I might have included it, but at the same time I also wanted to include some tech against like all the Sword Souls, right? The Imperms and the Veilers mostly there, so yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with the build, I think, for this event. It's, again, not perfect, but, I mean, what build is? Especially for these events, you know, it's such a limited amount of time to, like, fine-tune a build, and, like, I don't know, I think I'm kind of like most people where I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do my missions for the gems and all that stuff, but, like, this isn't the kind of, it's like not like the normal Rare Festival where I actually did play a little bit even after I was done with all my missions and gems, just because, like, I thought that format was fun. I'm still waiting for another event like that, to be honest, but, I mean, this one's still fine enough in the meantime. In any case, like, yeah, it's pretty much a case of Virtual World is still Virtual World. The extra deck is a little bit different, again, obviously because we're not doing stuff like, you know, VFD or whatever, so, you know, we're playing, like, as like a rank 9 substitute, I'm playing the Phantom Fortress, Enter Balthnir here. That's actually a really cool name, I didn't realize what that card is called, yeah, I really like this card, and I still like this deck quite a bit. So again, if you're looking to actually play both Synchros and Xyzs for the event, I think this deck is definitely where you want to land. So in this build, we are playing 2 Effect Veiler, 3 Max C, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 2 Virtual Hime Nyan Nyan, 3 Virtual Mai Hime Lulu, 3 Virtual Xyz it's been so long since I've played this deck, I forgot to pronounce how these names too. Virtual Roshi Lao Lao, we've got 2 of those, 3 Virtual Kirin Lili, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 2 Pot of Desires, 3 Virtual City Kowloon, 2 Virtual Gate Kinglong, 2 Emergency Teleport, 2 Call by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator. We've got 3 Infinite Permanents, 2 Virtual Gate Chuchi, and then 1 Virtual Gate Shan Wu. For the main deck, extra deck is going to have 1 Stardust Charge Warrior, 1 Coral Dragon, 1 Virtual Beast oh my, I've never been able to pronounce that one, honestly. 1 Cloud Castle, 1 Vermilion Dragon Mech, 1 Ravenous Crocodragon Arctheus, 1 Virtual Gate QB Shen, 1 Virtual Shell Jaja, 1 Down Nerd Magician, 1 Constellar Ptolemy M7, 1 Number 39 Utopia Beyond, 1 Virtual Phoenix Fan, 1 Gaia Dragon the Thunder Charger, 1 Phantom Fortress Enter Balthnir, and then finally, of course, 1 Divine Arsenal Zeus Sky Thunder. So, now that we have covered the 3 different decks themselves, we're going to go ahead and take a look at a game from each. We're going to go in the order that we showed these decks in. So we're going to start with the Zoodiac game. Alright, so as mentioned before, we're going to start with our game using Zoodiacs against Sword Soul here for the Synchro / Xyz Festival. And, you know, it's funny, I said this was a going second deck, but by reflex, I actually ended up taking the first turn in this game. So, I mean, it's not the end of the world, though. This deck can actually do some pretty decent turn 1 boards. If you get Thoroughblade plus Ram Ram specifically, you can open with F0. We didn't get that here. Well, I mean, we did get the Ram Ram, but of course, we weren't able to discard it, which is what you have to do in order to do that combo. So, I'm just going to go ahead and set up a Trident here instead. It's actually, you know, not that bad of a thing that we ended up going first with this particular hand, just because we don't have, I mean, like, yeah, we have the Gamma Seal and the Nibiru, but ideally you would like to open more Disruption than that. This is definitely a deck where you don't even mind opening, like, 5 pieces of Disruption going second, right? Which, again, you should be doing. I just misclicked by accidentally hitting going first instead. But it's not even a bad thing to open, like, let's say you open, like, Veiler, C, Nibiru, Lightning Storm, Imperm. Like, that's actually a totally fine opening hand with this deck because it's totally, as long as you can open at least 1 Zoodiac monster, then you're usually in the clear. Like, I mean, that's enough that you need to, you know, make your plays. So opponent is playing Sword Soul again. Fortunately, they did not open quite the impactful board that Sword Soul is normally known for here, just the Taya and Battle and Pass, which was lucky for us. I mean, it was also lucky that they had the Imperm for the Dryden here. Had they summoned like a Moye, then, and you know, like instead of Imperm and then Taya just battling over, if they just summoned Moye and summon the Sword Soul token, I probably would have actually popped the Sword Soul token. I don't know. It's always such a debate of which one to pop. Because if you pop the Moye, then, you know, they could special level 4 10E monster in their hand. If you pop the token, though, they could special a Long Yuan. I guess typically the Long Yuan's a little more likely to happen, so I guess you should pop the Moye and leave the token. You normally actually want to do that in like a regular, you know, ladder game, because it also prevents them from link summoning, but in this event that doesn't really apply. So, you have to think about it, I think, a little bit more carefully, but I don't know, it just kind of depends on the board state and the, you know, opponent's hand size and all that fun stuff too. So I'm going to lead with Ram here because my opponent's got a couple of back rows, although I'm reasonably confident if my opponent has set 2, it's probably going to be like, one of them's probably a Blackout, which I'm not concerned about because I'm only going to have one monster the whole time anyway until I Zeus this board away. And the other I'm thinking is probably just some random piece of disruption, like maybe an Imperm, which is why I led with the Ram, and then stacked the Hammer Kong, and then went into the board though, because I wanted to be able to, you know, detach the Hammer Kong using the Ram's effect to prevent trap cards from targeting the board, or my Zoodiac monster in general, to prevent a possible Imperm from being out. That does not carry over to Zeus. That protection does not carry over to Zeus, but we're not going to end up needing it here. The opponent's just got a call by in response to the Zeus here. I'm not really concerned about that. They can banish my Dryden. That's not something I'm trying to do. Oh, I would actually put Pot of Avarice in this deck. That is one change I would make. Maybe dropping one of the droplets, you know, go down from 3 to 2. To put in a Pot of Avarice, just to be able to recycle your engine, because sometimes you do have to make an early play, like, you know, Dryden into Zeus, and then if you lose both, like, yeah, you still have the F0, but that doesn't end up being just, like, about your only option, so having an option to recycle for longer games is definitely necessary. By the way, my opponent did end up having a Blackout face down, so, but again, I wasn't concerned about it because I knew I could get rid of their board with only one card without having to invest multiple cards to the board, which again is another great, you know, reason to use pure Zoodiac, especially for a festival like this. So opponent's got the emergence for the Moye. I'm not concerned at all though because I have a Veiler. They reveal this what was it? This Lord of the Phantasms, or Lord of the Eight Thunders. Lord of the Phantasms. Lord of the Eight Thunders here, which I'm not really concerned about because obviously I don't have a level 8 or rank 8 monster to summon with it. And yeah, as soon as I Veiler the Moye, my opponent concedes because, you know, I've got more cards in hand. I've got this Zeus out that they're not going to be able to out. So, yeah, it just goes to show that pure Zoodiac is definitely a great, very disruptive deck for this festival. Okay, so now we've got Sword Soul next. Let's take a look at the Sword Soul game. Alright, so this game is going to end up being, of course, a Sword Soul mirror match because, you know, Sword Soul is very, very popular for this event because a lot of people already have the deck built for competitive play in general, right? And also, it's such a strong deck for the event and just, again, in general that it ends up being a pretty safe pick. So, our hand's looking pretty good here. I could have led with the Ecclesia into the Moye, but I decided to leave with just the Moye here, just in case, you know, I end up needing to, or am able to special the Ecclesia next turn in order to get some plays off there. I'll just leave it in my hand for now. Plus, we have the Sacred Summit we can reveal instead. So, with that, opponent's got a Max C. I'll go ahead and just designate their Max C, though. Obviously, don't want them getting an unnecessary amount of draws here, so... Moye and Token were of course then going to go into Chi Xiao. I'm looking to do a pretty standard turn 1 setup with the Chi Xiao plus Baron, but because we also opened Sacred Summit, it's pretty decently likely here. I just need to draw another Sword Soul or Worm card to go with the Long Yuan, which I do. I get the Taya. Actually, I got the perfect one because now I can discard the Taya for the Long Yuan. And then special the Baron, and then of course from there I can Sacred Summit the Taya back and go for another level 8, but my opponent does have the Nibiru before I'm able to go into the Baron, and funnily enough I actually end up throwing out the Maxi as a reflex here, and then of course it was one of those scenarios where like the instant I clicked it I was like, oh right, I crossed out Maxi earlier, so yeah, I did end up, you know, kind of tossing my Maxi for no reason, but not that big of a deal. The opponent's going to give us a pretty decent sized token, and because I still have the Sacred Summit, I can still go for the Taya here, making a level 8. I did actually specifically banish the Moye so that I could wheel it back to my hand with Adhara, which I'm planning on doing here in a moment. I'm going to go for Baxia, right? And now that I have a token on my board, I can actually use the Taya. Of course, I can use the Baxia to spin back the Nibiru, but I can also use the Taya to send the Ashina, which will then let me summon the Adhara, which will then let me go into Chao Feng. So this game was kind of one of the, you know, I don't know, like I said, I've always really liked Baxia in this deck, but like this game was kind of one of the, you know, reasons I was like, you know, maybe have that Baxia appreciation moment. Like the card is just so good. It's just a nutty card. It's funny because it's one of those like cards that's really nutty, but also like kind of balanced in how nutty it is. Like it's not too bad. It just enables some pretty cool stuff. So we're able to have the Chao Feng going into the opponent's turn, and then also the Moye up in general. Opponent's got a Lightning Storm for the Chao Feng. I'm not even concerned about that though, because then I get to just search an Ash Blossom. And all they have is a golden Sword Soul anyway. I have seen quite a few of the Sword Soul builds like running Golden Sword Soul and like Iris Sword Soul. I'm not sure if that's just people who aren't like used to, you know, playing the deck, just seeing, oh, these cards have Sword Soul in their name, I'll put them in my Sword Soul deck. But Golden Sword Soul and Iris Sword Soul, even for this event, I'm like, I still don't really like those in my Sword Soul build. So I would personally advise against using them. But, you know, if you want to, obviously, more power to you there. So, yeah, here we draw a Taya. So, we don't even need to use the Ecclesia at this point. We can just summon this Moye, we wield back, reveal the Taya we drew, and go for some plays. And that's going to cause the opponent to give us the win here. So, yeah, Sword Soul, again, just has always been, you know, up to this point, a powerful meta contender the whole time it's been around in Master Duel, and continues to be so for this event as well. Alright, last game we're going to take a look at here is going to be with Virtual World. Alright, this last duel we're going to look at here with Virtual World is actually not against Sword Soul, it's against a 60-card Witchcrafter variant. Which is definitely more than a bit unique. I haven't encountered another one of these in this festival thus far, but opponent's going to take the first turn. We did open both Maxi and Ash Blossom though, so that's obviously really nice. Our opening hand in general is just really nice. Opponent's going to Maxi, or not Maxi, they're going to Reasoning here. Rather than Maxi, I'm actually just going to use Ash Blossom here. Because the Reasoning is, you know, it's a special summon, yeah, but it's also going to dump a bunch of resources into the graveyard. And I don't want that to happen because my opponent's going to get a whole bunch of advantage off of it. So when they go to use the Witchcrafter's effect, I'll then respond with Maxi because that's a special summon. But yeah, I'm definitely more concerned about negating the Reasoning in particular than getting a draw off of it. So successfully deterred the opponent from making plays. All they do is summon their Witchcrafter Shemitah here. Now we are going to activate Desires for some extra draws. I'm going to have to normal summon a Lulu in order to get our plays off, but that's fine. Basically, to get started with Virtual World plays, you just need a Virtual World card on the board. Summoning this other Lulu is going to allow us to get our Kowloon. That'll let us set up the Chuchi. And then now from here, we can set up the Lao Lao. Now here, I'm not really sure why didn't the Lao Lao summon the... I'm trying to figure out why I didn't summon the Maihime, or not the Maihime, the Hime Nyan Nyan from the graveyard there, but I did end up having to use the Shanwu I sent, but it's not a huge deal either way, but obviously it would have been nice to... Oh, it has to be one with a different name than you sent to the graveyard, that would do it. I thought it was something like that, okay, I should have known that, honestly. But, yeah, in any case here, opponent's got the Imperm and the Nibiru, yet another game where we got Nibiru, but... yeah, you know, still not that big of a deal, honestly. Especially because we can just end up using the... I think I have the ability to use the Chuchi, right? Yeah, it should be, because it's not... I don't even think it... I think you can shuffle back face-down banish cards with the gates here, so... I think I can blow up this Nibiru here, but... in any case, either way, I'm not really concerned about it. Obviously, Nibiru can't run over the token anyway. I actually don't know if I can blow up the Nibiru there. No, I feel like I would have if I could have, so... if they're just going to wheel back the Witchcrafter creation, that's why I didn't call by there. I didn't really feel the need to, because I didn't feel like they were doing anything really too threatening, honestly. And if they just want to, you know, wheel this Shemitah back to their graveyard, that's fine. I will banish this one, though, just because I have the other call by set. I'm fine using this one preemptively. That's totally cool with me, so... Yeah, I guess I'm not able to use the Chuchi here. I thought you were able to shuffle... No, I think I'm thinking of the Nyan Nyan effect to put cards back in the deck. You can do that with the face-down banish cards. I'm pretty sure that is what I'm thinking of, so... in any case, yeah, we top deck a Xyz targeting the Chuchi, and that's enough for the opponent to end up conceding here, given that I've, of course, also got the big Nibiru token, and the opponent is just generally unable to get over it. So, yeah, those are the decks that I've been using for the event here. Now let's go ahead and move to the outro. Alright, decided to just land back on the Virtual World deck here for the outro. So, yeah, like I said, those are the 3 decks that I've been using here for the event. The 3 that I would recommend using if you're going to go for a more, like, you know, having fun games, but also still, you know, a powerful and tuned deck for the format to get the gems, you know, as efficiently as possible. Again, with these events where it's just like summoning restrictions, I don't know, I say just summoning restrictions, but like, I can't lie, even the Xyz event, maybe it's just because it was a new thing, like just the event, it felt more fresh than the other ones have. Even the Synchro / Xyz one, I'm really hoping we're not going to see a trend where, like, you know, now it's going to be like, oh, now it's fusions and Xyz, now it's fusions and synchros, now it's links and synchros. It's like, you know, I would really like to see some other formats other than that. Hopefully that ends up being the case. I guess only time will tell at this point. But in any case, thank you very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video like this. I very much appreciate that. Also very much appreciate those of you who are both commenting and subscribing. Definitely do leave down in the comments below what decks you've been using for the festival and what you would recommend. Always love to hear everyone's suggestions about the deck builds, the gameplay, any aspect really. I love getting your feedback. And then subscribing, again, like I said, not only a great way to support the channel, but will also give you notifications of when my videos come out, which does happen daily. So you do get daily Master Duel content just for subscribing there. But yeah, that's going to go ahead and do it for this one. So without further ado, this is Xlex. I'm signing out. Hope you guys have a fantastic day.